Hey everybody, I am David, and today I want to do a video on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's going to be a ton of them leading up until Avengers Infinity War. This is one of them I really wanted to do. Sometime last year I did a video on some of the supporting characters that were killed throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because a lot of people were saying things that, the Marvel Cinematic Universe always kills people and then brings them back. But those were a few that had died, and so far as we know, stayed dead. There are rumors that the Soul Stone can bring back characters from the past, but I don't think it will bring them back full time. And I do think that there are going to be some significant deaths in Avengers Infinity War. So now I wanted to do one on the villains, but this time instead of the villains that were killed off, I want to do the villains that had survived at the end of each film. Just like Loki, I'm going to leave Loki off of this list because Loki obviously is still around. Even if you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok, you know at the end of Thor the Dark World, he's still around. So either way, he's still kicking. And the Avengers Infinity War trailer also showed Loki is going to be back in that one. I am going to leave Black Panther on the list only because I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. So if you don't want to know about the villain deaths or if they survived in that movie, I'm going to leave them off this list. If you've already seen the movie, then you're already ahead of the game. So let's get to this rundown. Let's start off with the Red Skull. The Red Skull survived at the end of Captain America: The First Avenger. Some of you are probably thinking, what are you talking about, David? He died. Don't you remember the beam? Yeah, I remember the beam of light that came out. Like there was a portal into space opening up, and it zapped him. But the way I looked at it, and many others, is that it looked very familiar to that, teleportation way of, the way Thor travels the universe. So it actually looked like it was beaming him up somewhere rather than zapping him and disintegrating him. I actually think the Red Skull is alive, and apparently there's a recent comic book that's tying into Infinity War, which is kind of hinting that maybe that theory is right, that the Red Skull possibly still lives. Next on the list, I have the Abomination from the Incredible Hulk, I'm forgetting the actor's name now, man. Tim Roth. He played the Abomination, Emil Blonsky, in that Edward Norton film. Even though they had a huge fight at the end of that film, the Abomination was still seen breathing. So it is possible we can see the Abomination one day again. Another character in The Incredible Hulk that we've seen that was still alive and kicking was Samuel Stearns. Now, some of you are probably wondering, who the heck is that and why should we care? Well, he was that scientist that was that Bruce was giving the blood to in the movie. He was known also as Mr. Blue. He kept writing to him on email in the beginning of the film, and then by the end of the film he finally met him when he got to New York to ask, and he found out that he was keeping all the blood samples stored up, using it as experiments. And then at the end, when Emil Blonsky turned into the Abomination, Samuel Stearns got knocked down, and some of Banner's blood started dripping on his head, and his head started mutating. Now, people that know the comics pointed out that he becomes the Leader, which is a villain, a Hulk villain from the comics. So it is possible that we could see him again down the road before the series ends. Specifically, the reason I'm doing all this is because the Russo brothers have said that there would be a lot of loose ends tied up in these next two Avengers movies. And they will bring on some threads that were left open in all of the films throughout all the last 10 years. So that's why it's good to remember who survived, because maybe it is possible there have been some rumors that some of these villains could be around. Let's get to the next villain on our list. I have Justin Hammer, played by Sam Rockwell in Iron Man 2. Sam Rockwell just won an Academy Award recently, and he has expressed interest in returning to the franchise, especially considering he has a lot of friends, people that he would call friends still in this franchise, like Jeremy Renner and Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr. So, yeah, he would love to return, and I would love to see him return because I love that interaction between him and Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 2. That was some of my favorite moments in that movie, was just hearing the banter off both of them. And I know he did have a cameo in one of the short films, the Mandarin one, where he did come back and shot a little short cameo, which I didn't know at first. I found this out like a year after that short film was released, that they were putting end credits on their short films. So I went back to rewatch all the short films to see which ones had the end credits and which ones didn't. So it was really cool seeing that Sam Rockwell did return for one of the short films. I thought it was nice that he was still in prison. But he did vow revenge, and I think it would be cool to see him one last time, even if it was just a small cameo in one of the last Avengers movies. Who knows? Maybe Tony Stark can stop by to the prison and say some banter back and forth. I don't know. Next, I have Trevor Slattery, a.k.a. the Mandarin, or Raza. Now, Trevor Slattery, of course, is... Last we saw, he was in prison, but if you saw that short film, apparently the real Mandarin might have killed him. Maybe he sent somebody to the prison in that short film to shoot him off. Did he kill him, or did he just bring him to the Mandarin? Because he said someone wants to meet you. So I'm expecting Trevor Slattery might have been brought to the real Mandarin, who I believe, if they ever do introduce the real Mandarin, I have a feeling it might be the character Raza. Now, some of you are probably wondering, who the heck is Raza, David? Where are you getting these characters? And Raza is actually the name of the character that was the leader of the Ten Rings in the first Iron Man movie. I forgot the actor's name, but he's been in many other movies before. You might remember him. And, yeah, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if he turned out to be the Mandarin? Because if you go back and watch Iron Man 1, when Jeff Bridges goes and meets him, and that's where the big revelation is that he was the one making deals with the Ten Rings, he used that device that he later uses on Tony to stun him while his men are being executed outside. But we never actually see Raza being killed. So, who's to say that he didn't survive, vows revenge on Tony Stark, especially since, Jeff Bridges' Obadiah Stane is out of the way. Now he just wants full-out revenge on Tony Stark. Wouldn't it be cool if he turned out to be the real Mandarin? I think that's a way you can tie it in. And I think he would have been a better Mandarin, now looking at it, than what we got with Trevor Slattery. So, next on the list, I have the Collector. There are already rumors going around that the Collector might appear in Avengers Infinity War, so we'll have to see. But this one makes perfect sense because that he's still alive and kicking. Because number one, we didn't see him die, and number two, he has an Infinity Stone, right? So definitely he's still alive and kicking, and he's gonna be back. Next, I have Aisha, the gold people from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. These people are still alive and running. And I don't think we'll see them until Guardians of the Galaxy 3, though. I think that's a plot line that, they won't touch on a while. But yes, those people are still alive, so that's good for them. Next, I have the Grand Master. Yes, the Grand Master, Jeff Goldblum in Thor Ragnarok, still alive and kicking. And possibly, could we get a possible, meeting of the two brothers, because the Grandmaster is supposed to be a brother to the Collector. So Benicio del Toro, Jeff Goldblum, get them in a room together. Let's see them in a film together, teaming up for something. I don't know what. It would be cool, I think. If you're going to tell us that they're brothers, use that and let us see at least one shot, one scene of them interacting. I think it would be a lot of fun. Next on the list, I have Mitchell Carson. He was the Hydra agent from Ant-Man. This is a character who, when we found out he was a Hydra agent, I thought, okay, so maybe Hydra is going to have a big role later on down the pipe. But Hydra didn't really have a big role since Ant-Man, or since Captain America the Winter Soldier, to be fair. But we kind of got this hint that Hydra is still kicking around and they are doing things still. And this was one of those things that they were trying to get the Ant-Man serum so they could create their own army of suits. And Mitchell Carson was the guy. He, at the end of the movie, he escapes at the end. We don't see him getting arrested or anything. He actually escapes. So it makes me wonder, not only will we see Mitchell Carson again, but will we see Hydra as some sort of unit again? I don't know. Or will they rename themselves? I have no idea. But this is something that is going to either be addressed in Ant-Man and the Wasp or the last two Avengers movies. Next, I have Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo, the villain of Captain America Civil War. He survived. He's in prison, though, last we checked. So it is possible, once the Avengers get back together, maybe he could still be a potential threat down the line. And maybe next time they can put him in his costume, because Baron Zemo does have a costume in the comics. And after all, they had Frank Grillo playing Crossbones, and in Captain America the Winter Soldier they didn't have Crossbones in his costume, but they did put him in a costume later on in Civil War. So, but then he was killed in that one. So maybe they can bring back Zemo, do something similar, except don't kill a villain when you know he's useful down the future. And I think Zemo is actually one of the better villains in the MCU. So hopefully they don't kill him and save him for other storylines that they could use him in. Who knows? And make him a threat again. I would like to see him back. Next, I have Baron Mordo. We're going from Baron Zemo to Baron Mordo. Baron Mordo is one of the main villains of Doctor Strange, and he was an ally in Doctor Strange's first movie. But if you stuck around till the end credits, clearly he's going to have some new agendas. Now, I think they'll save him for a Doctor Strange sequel, but it is possible they could use him in an Avengers movie as well. Maybe he could be the next Loki. After all, Chiwetel Ejiofor is an amazing actor, and I wouldn't mind seeing him back for whatever movie. And if he becomes the next Loki, think how cool that would be. Also, from Doctor Strange, I have Dormammu. Dormammu is kind of like the devil, I guess, of the MCU so far. Yeah, he would make sense to bring back as a huge threat. I think he could even be an Avengers level threat. That would be an interesting villain to go up against for the Avengers, or anything else that they decide to do. Who knows? There's so many other teams in the comics, not just the Avengers, that they could pull from, that I think Dormammu would be an interesting threat for some of the strongest MCU characters to handle. From Spider-Man Homecoming, the Vulture is alive still, nice and well, in prison, and now he even knows who Peter Parker is. Now, some people have taken the end credit scene of Spider-Man Homecoming in two different ways. One, that maybe he's going to pay respect since Spider-Man saved him, since Peter saved him from being killed. Maybe he'll pay his respects by not outing Peter and not trying to kill him, by leaving him alone, and that's why he threatened another character that's on this list, which I'm going to get to. But maybe he could, no, you know what, maybe I will kill Peter for myself. I don't want no one else going after this kid but me. So maybe it is possible they could be saving him for maybe a Sinister Six movie. Who knows? But I wouldn't mind seeing Michael Keaton return again. Finally, last on this list, I have Mark Gargan, aka the Scorpion. Obviously, he wasn't the Scorpion yet in this movie, but I think it's pretty clear during the end credit scene with Michael Keaton that Mark Gargan is going to become the Scorpion in the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel. And you know what? I wouldn't mind. Scorpion is a cool villain, and I wouldn't mind seeing him become the main threat in the next Spider-Man sequel. As who will, maybe another villain could side up with him. Remember, this Spider-Man Homecoming movie had like 5 villains. They had like the Tinkerer. They had two Shockers. They had the Vulture, and they had Mark Gargan hanging out, getting ready to become the Scorpion one day. So maybe they can team up the Scorpion with, who knows, Kraven the Hunter or something. You know, there's so many different possibilities that they could do with the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel. I just can't wait to see more of Spider-Man in the MCU, because his last 2 outings have been awesome so far, and I can't wait to see what his role will be in Avengers Infinity War. So with that being said, guys, this was my video for all the villains that are still around in the MCU that could possibly pop up anywhere in the future. So I think that's pretty cool that they still have all these villains left, especially in a time where we used to be where villains were sometimes killed left and right at the end of each movie because studios never really thought of the long-term run. And so knowing that we have like these amount of villains still alive, it's pretty cool to think about. So maybe we can even have some of them unite and form their own evil team. Wouldn't that be cool? So I guess that's it. If I left anyone out, don't spoil Black Panther. I left those 2 out for a reason. Ulysses Claw and Killmonger. For anyone that wants to check out Black Panther, go check it out. I didn't spoil it for you, so there you have it. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, share the video around, and because I could use all the support I can get, guys. I don't get paid for my videos anymore because YouTube, you know, whatever. But I don't mind. I do these videos for fun, so that's why I'm doing that. But still, it would be cool to have that support, and I know there's some loyal subscribers of mine, so thank you very much, guys. And until next time, take care.